by Miami New Times, but you didn't need them to tell you. Anyone in Miami could tell you this is the spot. They got the locations out in Tamiami, Sweetwater, some of the most time-honored locations in the city, but now they're even closer to most people, right? Right there, centrally located by the metro in the Dayland Mall Dining Pavilion, which is the food court. But it's a disrespect to call it a food court when you bring in a restaurant like this, an award-winning restaurant with pretty much a full menu available at the spot. 7 different types of croquetas, handhelds you can take to go, classic items. You want to sit down, eat a giant steak, they can take care of you. You want to grab something to go, whether it's an empanada or a cubadito, something along those lines. Just a quick sandwich, which of course they have all the classic Cuban sandwiches. Just grab and go. They got that. They got bowls. They got all the coffees, all the juices, including Pete's favorite, Batido. Actually, you're Tidigo, right? Over Batido MMA?
No, I prefer Mame, but I do know that the trigo is what if you really want to put that weight on, you start having those trigo shakes.
Yeah, man. But look, you got vegetables too. So you got everything you need there at Islas Canarias, the #1 spot for Cuban food on the planet. So going to the defensive end, Pete, big week, obviously, for Miami's recruiting at safety. And I think this is really, if you ask me where I think Miami will win one battle, even though they're going against tough competition, they have to get one of these safeties done. So you got Tyreek Green on July 12th, and then you got Blake Stewart on July 13th, both Atlanta area safeties. Tyreek Green, 5'10", 191. Blake Stewart, 5'11 and a half, listed at 170, but he's not 170. He's probably closer to 185, 190. So
this is Tyreek Green.
So similarly sized, we're watching Tyreek Green here. Great athlete, big-time playmaker, guy that can play offense and defense, return kicks, can cover the slot, but I think safety is where his home is. He had a great visit. Georgia is in on him big. Now, Georgia's not been like a powerhouse at Buford like you would think, which is Tyreek Green's school. You just saw Bryce Perry-Wright, who is a 5-star player out of Buford, who Miami was after also, go to Texas A&M. So it's not like Georgia just gets whoever they want in this school, but certainly they're a factor, and they're always going to be a factor for safeties. They produce top safeties. They just put Malachi Starks in the first round. They got a pretty good rap for safeties. So you can see the appeal for a Tyreek Green. But I think if you're Miami, what you're selling with Tyreek Green is Georgia's brought in a ton of safeties, even though they want you. And Georgia is trying to get Tyreek Green. Look at that range. He's not back burner for them at all. Sometimes you could, it's like Jason Lopez. We wanted Jason Lopez. It wasn't like we put him on the back burner, but he sees Advanced Spafford. He sees all those guys. So I think with Tyreek Green, while we're watching him here, the selling point is going to be, we need safeties bad. Georgia wants you, but we need you, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of the selling point. They got a lot of other guys there. Not that he's afraid of competition, but we've seen this happen a million times. Guys like to be the guy. Kevin Dennis mentioned this guy runs a 10-9. Pedro saying, yeah, we need a safety big time. Hassan saying we have a better chance with Green than Stewart. Is that correct? I don't know. I think these are going to be down to the wire recruitments, but I expect Miami to be extremely, extremely aggressive. If you ask me which one of these battles is going to be that Denzel Washington leave here with something flip, which is what I think will get done, he's going to be one of these two. I can't see Miami going 0 for at safety. They have a good recruiter there, really good pair of recruiters with Etheridge and Harris. They like these guys. They've been on these guys forever, but both these guys visited in the spring. Again, when we talk about Tyreek Green, Georgia's the comp. Blake Stewart, who's the other name who's committing around the same time, who I saw at the OT7s. It was extremely impressed. One of my favorite players in the class. I like Tyreek Green too. Clemson's in the mix there. We've talked about Clemson, their success with some Atlanta area DBs going in the first round. That's a tough battle, but we know Dabo. Dabo's not the one that's going to be going tit for tat on NIL and that kind of thing. So,
but they also are more willing to do it than they were a year or two ago, I would say.
100%. By the way, appreciate you, Joe. Like and subscribe to the channel. Yeah, they are more willing to play ball, but there's levels to this. So we'll see what Miami does. But I don't see Miami losing both these battles. And if they do, now safety becomes that bright red flag position. Because right now, I think corner, you have really good corners. You have Jalen Waters, who I think he's a 4-star player, a blue chip player, but I think he's better than his rating personally. You have Brody Jennings, who you stole from Michigan, another blue chip player at corner this past weekend. Great get. Jontavius Wyman, 4-star that you got from Georgia, who won the Rivals 5-star Challenge MVP recently at DB. So he's a really nice electric player, brings a different skill set than you have. And then Camden Portis, a 4-star legacy. He's a legacy, but he's a 4-star at nickel corner. Just ran a 10-9, so he's got some speed too. So, I think those 4 corners, you feel good. You feel good about what you have at in the portal. Those guys also have 2 years of eligibility between O'Connor and Lucas. So we'll see, right, what the future holds at safety. But I think corner's good. Safety's the one where you really got to add some talent.
I mean, D, where do they even go from there if they don't land either one of these guys?
It's a good question, man. I mean, expand the board, try to flip, see who's listening to flips. I don't know. You have Cortez Redding, who's visited from Atlanta. I think he's still uncommitted. The guy from Orlando, I'm butchering the name, but let me pull it up in a second. We had a visitor from Orlando who I think is a pretty talented guy, but certainly is not, being like he's not on the same tier as these other guys on paper. We don't know how they're going to turn out, right? But Devontae Anderson from Orlando, Florida. So, we'll see. Kevin Dennis says, I like the Anderson kid. I like him too. But I mean, you got to get one of these guys, man. You got to get a Tyreek Green. Look at the talent. This guy's really athletic, man, and tough. You got to get a Tyreek Green, or you got to get a Blake Stewart. Devin Air saying the last Atlanta area safety we landed didn't work out too well. Before he tells us the answer, who is it? I'm trying to think. Who's the last Atlanta area safety that we got? See if you know, Pete. I'm trying to think myself.
Damn. I mean,
Atlanta didn't work out.
Where was Graves? Graves is from Florida, no?
Oh, Jaden Harris.
Jaden Harris. Yeah.
And now back in Georgia. Yeah, but I think with Jaden Harris, if you compare him to these guys, Jaden Harris, he went to a smaller school, was a lower ranked player, size, speed guy, really came into corner, to play corner, and then shifted to safety. Whereas these guys played safety in high school, they're 4-star players. So I think that one, those guys are a little higher on the board. D-Rob saying, what about the Darius Hughes, the safety? He's committed to FSU. Yeah, just transferred to Northwestern. Miami saw him in spring, and I didn't see them. I didn't really ask about him, but they didn't turn up the heat after seeing him in spring. So that's like a sign that to me that they're not necessarily going bananas over him. But, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. That's kind of my take.
Could be a board expansion guy.
Could be. Or could be a late blooming guy. Some of these guys have good senior years. You also got to watch guys that have good senior years and always have space for those, because that's how you miss those big evaluations sometimes. Think of R. Mason Thomas, who had a really big senior year, went to Oklahoma from Broward, and now he's one of the top pass rushers in the country, right? R. Mason Thomas. So you always got to be mindful of those kind of guys. Over 1,000 on the live. Like and subscribe to the channel. So, Pete, let's switch gears a little bit, because I want to talk about this, a couple of these lists here about breakout players. So both 247 and ESPN did like kind of like every team sleeper, or who's the breakout